everybody! I wanted to tell you about the lesson plan that I chose for this project. I chose to teach a third grade English lesson, ELA. And within English, I chose to teach my students about spelling, reading, and writing. So before I begin, I wanted to let you know that all of the documents that I will be talking you through are also on my Weebly page, at the bottom where it says Documents Regarding Lesson Plan. First of all, the standard that I chose for myself under the North Carolina Common Core Essential Standards was that teachers reflect on their own practice. I think this is something that I'm going to be able to use all the time, especially in my first few years of teaching. I think to reflect on my practice is not only to think about what I'm doing, but it's being flexible and learning from my mistakes and realizing what's working and what's not working. So throughout the lesson plan, I'm going to show you how I'm going to be able to reflect on my practice. The standards that I chose for my students for this lesson, I also found on the NCCCES website for English for third grade. And they are for the kids to be able to ask and answer questions to demonstrate the understanding of a text. They're going to be able to do that through this lesson. They're also going to be able to describe characters in a story, their traits, their motivations, and their feelings. They're also going to be able to refer to parts of a story when writing about a text. Fourth, they're going to be able to explain how specific aspects of a text illustrations contribute to what is conveyed by the words in a story. So I'm going to show you in the lesson plan how each of these things are accomplished. The essential questions that I chose for my kids are what they are going to be able to do by the time this lesson plan is over. The first thing that they are going to be able to do is what is the connection between spelling, reading, and writing. They're going to be able to bridge that connection and understand the meaning behind that. What does Fern from Charlotte's Web teach us about treating others? They're also going to be able to tell that in our reading Charlotte's Web. They're also going to be able to answer, why does writing make us better readers? The target learning objectives that I chose for my kids, this is going to be as if they are learning these things. So the first thing is the child will be able to understand this week's spelling words as they apply to our book, Charlotte's Web. As I mentioned early on, we're doing spelling, we're doing reading, and we're doing writing, because I think all of these things contribute to English. The next thing that they will be able to do is describe the characters in Chapter 1 of Charlotte's Web. That goes back to their standard, is being able to describe the characters. They're also going to be able to retell what happened in Chapter 1 by writing a description of it. That also goes back to the standard I chose for them, referring to parts of a story, and they're also getting in their writing, which is part of their English. The technology skills that I chose for this project were Prezi, Kahoot, Microsoft Excel, Microsoft Word, and Weebly. You'll see on my Weebly page that I created a Prezi. This is the presentation that I will be showing my students. It talks us through the lessons that we're going to be doing. So if you want to view that, it's there for you to view, along with all of these other documents. The first part of the lesson, the English lesson, is going to be something called word work. This is the spelling. They're going to be writing their spelling word 3 times, and this is on the Prezi that you'll see from my Weebly page. They're going to be writing their spelling word 3 times. They're going to write a sentence using their spelling word, and they're going to draw a picture using their spelling word. And all of these instructions are on the Prezi presentation. The next aspect of the lesson is called Read to Self. This is going to be a chance for the students to read on their own. And for this lesson, they're going to read to page 3 by themselves. The next part of the English lesson is read to teacher. This is a time when they will take turns reading out loud. The next part is read to partner. They're going to be reading with their assigned partner that I will have given them based on their reading level. Of course, all of these aspects of the lesson are able for diverse learners to be able to do them. The first one, word work. There are paper copies available to them, which is also on the Weebly page. Just in case, here it is. I understand that sometimes viewing words on a computer screen can be difficult for children. So I've got paper copies available if that is the case. Under Read to Self, when they're reading to their self, help is always available from me as the teacher to help them. Read to Teacher. This may not be required from all diverse learners, depending on the child. When we're reading to our partners, reading alone by themselves would probably be acceptable. It really just depends on the child and what they need. And that goes back to my standard that I am working on. Teachers reflect on their practice. It really just depends on me learning from what happens and the mistakes that I make and how I can improve what I'm doing so that these diverse learners can learn what they need to learn at the best way possible. Some of the resources that I used was, of course, the Charlotte's Web novel. I used the Prezi, the Kahoot. The Kahoot is the post-assessment. So after we finish the word work, the read to self, the read to teacher, and the read to partner, we will have a post-assessment. And I used a tool called Kahoot, which is like a fun quiz. It's not going to be graded in this case, but it's something that the children are going to be able to look back and what they learned from chapter 1 and be able to answer a couple questions about it. I also used the North Carolina Common Core and Essential Standards website. That is where I got this book from. It was under the list of third grade reading resources that they can read from. So I picked Charlotte's Web because that was a book that I enjoyed when I was little. The way that I picked the Daily 4, which was the word work, the read to self, read to teacher, and read to partner, it was taken from the Yadkin County Schools method of teaching third grade English. After we do our post-assessment, I'm going to give out the homework for English for the day. That is also a paper copy available to you on Weebly. This is the writing portion of this English lesson. This is where they are going to be able to write what they learned from chapter 1. It also goes back to the standard, refer to parts of a story when writing about a text. And it is also going to be explain how specific aspects of a text illustrations contribute to the story. They're going to do both of those standards throughout this assignment. So let me explain it to you. It has 2 questions. The first one is to retell chapter 1 in your own words from beginning, middle, and end. This is one of the standards. So they're going to write a little bit on that. The second thing they're going to do is for each illustration, picture, throughout the chapter, briefly describe what is happening in that illustration. And that was also a standard that they've got to be able to do. So I think this homework is really good with the lesson that I've chosen through Charlotte's Web, the spelling, and the reading, and the writing. And they all have to do with each other. And I think that's important for the kids to realize that spelling, reading, and writing all have to do with each other, and they all build on each other. So it's important to have spelling skills to be able to tell what a word is before you read it. And when you read the words in the sentence, you need to be able to write about it. So I think it's important for the kids to understand all of that in my class. Let me make sure there's not anything else I want to tell you about during this video. The English lesson that I chose is 1 hour and 15 minutes, give and take. And on top of the lesson plan, you'll see the time allotted for each activity. I think that is everything that I want to talk to you guys about today. Just the main things are the standard that I chose is that teachers reflect on their own practice. I'm able to do that by understanding what is working in my classroom. For example, during the to read to partner time, if that's not working out between two students, I'm going to change that the next day. I'm going to change that to fit their needs so that they're able to learn all that they can. That's me not only being able to reflect on my practice, but that's being flexible and being able to change what's not working. And the standards for my kids are to ask and answer questions that demonstrate understanding of a text. They're able to do that through the post-assignment Kahoot. They need to describe characters in a story. They're able to do that through their homework. Also, they have to refer to parts of a story when writing about a text. That writing portion comes in their homework assignment. Also, they have to explain how specific aspects of a text illustrations contribute to what is conveyed. That's also in their homework, and I briefly want to explain what that is, understanding the illustrations and writing about them. So for Chapter 1, they will see an illustration that looks like this. They're going to write what is going on in this picture to the best of their ability. They see Fern and they see Wilbur, and they're going to write what is happening. That's understanding the illustration and being able to write about it. So throughout this English lesson, my children in my class, through their target objectives, have been able to understand this week's spelling words as they apply to our book. All the spelling words were picked out of Chapter 1, and they are on the Diverse Learners page, or they are in the Prezi presentation that you'll see on Weebly. They were able to do that. They were able to describe the characters in Chapter 1 of Charlotte's Web, and they were able to retell what happened in Chapter 1 by writing a description of it. So I think in this English lesson, my students in my class have been able to do everything they possibly can to meet the standards that I have picked out for them.